We love Zencaster because it allows us to record the audio for our podcast and create the video segments we use for our weekly Sister Scoop episodes. Zencaster has helped us make content capture simple.
It's now super easy to record a podcast with Zencaster. Log in using your browser and start recording a high-quality podcast right away. Record studio quality sound and up to 4K video with your guests, and feel a sense of zen knowing Zencaster's multi-layered backups ensure you always have your recordings in the highest quality, even if the connection is unstable.
If you've thought about podcasting before and realized that you need a lot of different tools and services, those days are over. With Zencaster's all-in-one podcasting platform, you can create your podcast in one place and distribute it to Spotify, Apple, and other major destinations.
Just go to zencastr.com/pricing and use our code SistersAssembled, and you'll get 30% off your first month of any Zencaster paid plan. We want you to have the same easy experiences we do for all of our podcasting and content needs. It's time to share your story.
Katie and I are always hungry, and one snack we both love is beef jerky. That's why we're so excited to tell you about one of our favorite jerky brands, Matt Hat Jerky.
Matt Hat's delicious taste makes it a great snack, and the variety of flavors, including original, black truffle, and my personal favorite, roasted garlic, means there's a flavor for everyone. Plus, it's local to the area where we grew up in, which we just love.
Use the link in the show notes below to get some Matt Hat Jerky for yourself, and make sure to use our coupon code SistersAssembled for 10% off. Hello and welcome to Sisters Assembled, your home for all things MCU. And the time has arrived. It is X-Men 97 Season 2 season, everybody. So before we jump into our reactions to episodes 1 through 3, this is your final spoiler warning. We are going to be talking about everything in episodes 1 through 3. Full spoilers ahead. So if you have not watched the episodes yet, please pause us, go back, watch the episodes, and then return, because otherwise we're going to spoil it for you, and that's not our job. So, with that out of the way, I normally toss it to Caitlin, but I do just have to say something. We had a whole conversation in the predictions episode, and I'm going to bring it up because I very rarely am right about things.
Yes.
And I do think you convinced me otherwise through the conversation, but I did bring it up, so I just need to point it out. We talked about how they might structure this season, knowing that we had 3 different time periods, 9 total episodes, a 3-episode premiere. They did, in fact, mostly stick to 1 time period per episode, with the occasional cut in, very minor. So I just want to point that out. I loved that. I thought it actually worked really well, and it makes a ton of sense for why they did a 3-episode premiere. But that's the last thing I'll say on structure, other than to say we're also going to follow that as we go through our reactions for the most part today. Try to stick episode by episode just because it's easier to organize. And now, Katie, your turn.
Well, now I have to go off of that. I still, even though I said what I said, wish it wouldn't have been like that, because I did find that the first 2 episodes I was like,
no,
okay,
I was living my best life.
I know you are, because that's how your brain works. But for me, my brain doesn't work like that. So for me, I'm sitting there and I'm especially, I'm sorry. And you know what? I think we had this conversation last season too. I do love Scott Summers, right? We love our Boy Scout. But for some reason, when he's the primary subject on my screen, I just can't. I cannot function the way I wish I could. And there's just something about him that I just can't.
He is very self-righteous. I will give you that.
He's worse than Cap. He's truly worse than Cap. Steve Cap.
You know what it is that and this is just me coming to bat for my man Steve over here, but I think Steve, yes, he has a strong sense of right or wrong, but he also listens to people and is humble about it. And Scott will just he's one of those dudes who I feel just yells in your face, does not actually let you make your point, and then just continues to yell in your face, even though you might have a valid point. I feel like Steve is more diplomatic in his approach, which makes me find Steve less aggravating. But Scott is just he just is my way or the highway.
He really is, and I think he makes it really hard for me. So let's just get into that first episode. I don't even remember half of it. And that's out of the 3 now, okay, let me just high level say, obviously, I'm into this. Obviously, like, I'm a fan. I am glad they did the 3 episodes because I do
Yes.
think from the perspective of, like, the way they have this cut, I would have been like, "Oh god, that's all we got," especially after the
Yeah.
first episode. The second episode, I didn't feel quite the same way because it was happening in our timeline, and
Mhm.
to me, that's the most important, right? Like, that's
Right.
still the 90s. That's our reference point. So, yes, we have the past and the future, but I need to know what's happening because at the end of the day, the story is going to take place in the 90s.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
like, that was still important. And then obviously, I did favor the 3rd episode personally because I think that just went in a completely different direction we haven't yet seen.
Mhm.
But that first episode was rough for me to get through. I
Interesting.
won't lie.
I will say I can understand where you're coming from for that, with that, from a kind of like overarching narrative perspective of like, yes, you understand that, Gene and Scott are helping Cable mature into his role and things like that. Or I guess he's still Nathan at that point, not really Cable, but um that's kind of the goal of that time period or that episode.
Yeah.
But I personally am so deeply invested in the Summers Family soap opera that I was really just there for that piece of it, because I was like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. And then I will say, like, the moment where they reveal that they are his parents, and they kind of help him work through and learn how to control his abilities and things like that, I was like, wow, this is actually like a really cool moment. So I liked that a lot. I was also really curious. I mean, obviously, Mother Ascani is Rachel Summers, who I believe is obviously a Summers, but I believe is a Summers from a different timeline. So she is also technically sort of part of their family.
Okay, wait. I thought Rachel Summers was Gene and Scott's kid. Nathan is Madeline's.
Right. But
Well, and you know what? Maybe that's where I got kind of stuck from the start because, like, and
well,
actually, we just.
Yeah,
Well,
well,
wait,
I want to take a second. I want to take a step back. I don't actually know who Rachel's parents are, other than
Well,
Scott,
I
because she
feel
has the
like-
last name Summers.
But I feel like I remember that from when we had this discussion from the last season. Was I feel like that because remember that was because we were like, oh, the whole clone thing, and then we were trying to like, but no, where I wanted to say I got stuck was. And I got stuck on this last season too. Madeline is his mom.
Wait, we had this conversation last week.
I know. But like they doubled down on Jean really like stepping into being that mother role, but like I guess I'm like really stuck because then we have that moment between Cable and Madeline right before she dies.
Right.
And that's when he's like, "Mom." And like now I'm like, does he know he has to know that wasn't Jean, but now like Jean's full force in this, like, I'm your mom. And I was like, but
well,
wait.
Okay, let me ask, did you watch the recap before the episode?
Yeah.
Okay. So
yes, because I was like, just in case.
Same. Because I was like, I watched this last week, but memory of a colander. Nightcrawler has that monologue that's set over those scenes where he's like, just because you didn't have the experience, but you have the feelings related to the memories, like all that stuff. And he's like, family by blood or family by like experience. Yeah. I think that was their way of like telling us, hey, I know that technically Jean isn't his mom, but she's going to act like his mom because for some reason, unbeknownst to us, she has all of Madeline's memories that we still can't figure out why that is.
Sense still, yeah.
Yeah, so I think we're just and this is weird to be coming from this side of the episode, but I think we're just gonna have to go with the flow and just be like, this is how it is now.
Yeah, but like justice for my girl. And like I think that's where I get stuck from the jump because I'm just like, but you're not. And listen, I get it. Like I'm all for Jean stepping in to be like, but it's just I guess I get stuck because they really are just kind of. It feels a little bit like we're brushing under the whole Goblin Queen thing. And I remember this being my complaint from last season because I was like, how is that only an episode and a half? That you did that whole thing. and that only was an episode and a half. And
well,
so
yeah,
I
because they
think
killed her like the next episode.
right, she literally gets killed off in Genosha. So then I'm like, oh, why'd we even low-key kind of do it? Like it, and now it feels like we're really going back on it almost completely to me. So like
Well,
that's
I
I
think
think
it's
where I
like
get stuck.
it's like one of those things where they didn't want to completely retcon the comic because I mean,
Right.
Cable is Madeline's son in the comic.
Yeah.
So it's like one of those things where it's like, we can make it technically comic accurate, but we'll just tell the rest of the. I don't know what happens.
We're not going to let her survive, and we're just going to.
I don't know what happens to Madeline in the comic, and I don't know what Cable's relationship is with Jean, to be honest. So it could be that this is following that story, you know, more closely than we think. But like, if it doesn't, and again, I don't know, I could see it's where it's like, well, we gave him the comic accurate mom, but we're gonna let Jean take it from here.
Yeah. I mean, that's fair. I think I just was getting stuck on it, if I'm being completely honest. So that in and of itself made this episode, I think, hard for me because I just was like, okay. I also think to come out of the gates doing the future episode, I actually was kind of I could have seen them switching 1 and 3.
Well, here's the thing though, and this is why I almost threw my computer when I finished episode 3.
Yes,
It's part 1 of 2. So it's like okay, before we get into 3, because I don't even want to broach that yet. What happened at the end of 1? Like when he left, he said he was going to the 90s. So I guess my question to you is like, did they actually create a problem that hadn't existed? Like, okay, I don't want to get all like circular here, but like,
okay, wait, let's first clarify. You're talking about Apocalypse.
Yes, thank you. Sorry,
You just said he.
I don't mean to use pronouns without an antecedent proper noun.
There you go.
We had a teacher in school that used to hate that, and I remember that, and so shout out to him. But anyway, yes, Apocalypse kind of like goes up in his sarcophagus and ostensibly goes to the 90s is what we think happens, or that's what he says is happening, because I'm going to go after them when they're at their weakest in the 90s. I don't know how he thinks they're weakest in the 90s, but whatever. Anyway, he does that. So I guess my question to you is, are we then meant to understand that they actually created the problem of Apocalypse in the 90s that they've been fighting in this moment in the year 39 whatever?
So like this is where we get into those questions that I know you don't
I hate
like
time
the answers
travel.
to. I actually have to say what I think I'm bothered by right now is how much I don't remember from the original show when they fought Apocalypse.
I know. And it's like, I was thinking about that even when we were doing the predictions last week, but I was like, it's one thing to go back and watch 10 episodes of season 1. It's another to be like, every year I'm going to have to go back and watch the 5 other seasons that preceded
even
it, which
if you
are
don't necessarily
good.
watch it, like, and you just go to the Apocalypse episodes, those are still like at least 10 episodes on their own.
Yeah.
So it's like, it is a little hard. And I am trying to understand because the rules behind, so we obviously know that they were purposely brought into those times for, I mean, I guess the team in the future, like, great job, yay, you got Nathan what he needed, check off the list, they went back to the 90s, cool, solution.
The team in the past is doing the exact dang opposite of what they're supposed to be doing.
Well, now, I would love to know what the thought process of putting Magneto in the past, trying to get to stop him from becoming Apocalypse, but you have Magneto back. Like, that was the biggest choice you could have. Biggest choice.
We'll get to that, because
Yes.
I too think Rachel Summers made a big boo-boo.
I agree. But yeah, I mean, like, they checked off their list, they did what they had to do, and they're back in the 90s. Cool. Like, Forge came and got them. Yeah, and you know, I think I said this last episode when we did predictions. I was like, I don't anticipate seeing them in these other timelines long. Like,
right.
The story's in the 90s. We have to be in the 90s. The 90s are in shambles to some degree. Like, we need them to come back where they belong. So they checked off their list. They got him ready. I guess I would anticipate, and I would have to almost assume that any way of getting Nathan ready was going to cause Apocalypse to come after them. So I would think this all had to happen the way it happens, and that they didn't mess up.
But here's the thing. he was never supposed to be captured by Apocalypse's horsemen. Like, remember Mother Ascani was like, this
But
wasn't
isn't it
supposed to happen.
Yeah, but isn't it also Storm that says by her own logic that technically this all was supposed to happen?
Yeah, but I hate time travel. I
know.
I hate
That's
so
why I
much.
just think we can't really think about this too much in that capacity. I do have to just assume that either it was meant to start that apocalypse off, and because I do remember one of the old episodes from the OG show with Apocalypse and his like, what is it, like his little
sarcophagus.
Yeah, what was he calling it though?
Oh, his regeneration chamber.
Yes. Like I do remember an episode where they're talking about it and all of that. So like I do have to wonder if this was all meant to happen, that unfortunately, like, because we are in the future, this is at the point where his reign is like at its highest. So it's like,
and then the opposite of that would be like, because, and I don't want to get too far into the second episode because that'll have its own section of the episode, but in the second episode, Cable is talking about preparing for Apocalypse to come. So then is it like, is he gonna, I guess we might get this episode or this answer, in a future episode, and maybe this whole circular conversation is moot. But it's, I guess my question, what I'm trying to wrap my head around is like, when he's going to the 90s, is he going to his first appearance in the OG show, or is he going to 1997 to go fight Cable now and like the X-Force? So that, I mean, my gut says he's going to go fight the X-Force. And also, I don't want to deal with the whole idea of like they created their own enemy, even though that's exactly what they're doing in Egypt. But that whole thing is like interesting.
Well, I don't want to get to episode 3 yet, but yeah, I mean, I don't know. If I'm being honest, I'm just glad that we pulled one team out of the time, and actually, I think the future is somehow worse than the past. Because the past, to me, I'm like,
way, like, based on what criteria, I guess I'm asking.
Well, like, I'm just saying, like, I feel like we have heard so many thoughts on how the past, if you go back in time, is affected, right? We have the Endgame version, we have other versions just from like media. We kind of have what the X-Men, like X-Men 97 has already explained to us through Bishop and Cable and things of that nature. So we do know that like things in the past alter the future very clearly. And that's why Bishop comes back a lot, because he sits there and he's like, wait, something changed by accident here, and this like my whole future blew up, so we have to come back and change this, and like whatever. And because of that rule, that is inherently, to me, the butterfly effect.
Oh yeah, that's literally the definition.
Yeah. Well, I say it like that because according to Marvel on the live action side, that doesn't exist. I know.
I don't want to revisit this conversation.
I know. So we won't. Regardless, they pretty much go off the concept of the butterfly effect. So I do understand that when the team in the past, which we'll get to, is going to do things that can completely alter futures here. The team in the future, the problem is I don't understand when they change things in the future, how that affects everything else.
Well, I'm trying to figure out. I like have a concept in my head, but the idea of how to verbalize it is eluding me at the moment. I guess the best way to put it is we haven't reached the end of the future. Like,
right.
There is a future yet to come where Nathan is an adult going around as Cable, and he's a grumpy man, and like, he's lived a whole life. So I guess you can almost consider it like there's 4 points in the future, and one of them's just not represented, right? So we have Egypt, we have the 90s, we have 3900, whatever. And then we have the future where like Cable lives as a fully grown adult. So this future can still affect the fully grown Cable future.
Yeah.
So that's, I think, where like something must have gone a little awry. Fair. I guess.
But that's why when you're asking about like where'd Apocalypse go, I don't know.
I mean, he said he was
That's
going to
the
the
problem.
90s, so I'm just going to take him at his word.
But that's what I mean. Like, we have to assume he's just going to the 90s, but the way the future is, I mean, like, it's way less clear to me how that's going to work than it is when the team in the past is making edits, if you will, to the past.
I mean, yeah, I don't know how that affects, the future. Because I don't believe that Nathan kills Apocalypse in that moment. Like, he needed to leave to go get the supercomputer that he embeds in his arm.
Right.
Apocalypse needed to leave so that Nathan could get the supercomputer, to clarify. But then how does Apocalypse leaving 3900 whatever affect the future? Because doesn't Cable still have to fight him in the future? Because the point is that he's supposed to kill him as an adult, not as like teenage.
Well, and the thing
Nathan,
is he even
right?
says at some point he always pops back up. Like, whenever he thinks he gets him, he pops back up in a different timeline, a different area.
Right.
So it's like, Apocalypse is like slimy. Like, you just can't get him.
Well, and we said this last episode, he's exactly like Kang. Like, you get one version, and I mean, it's not necessarily variant situation with Apocalypse. Is a little different, but it's like one version you think you've defeated, and somehow he shows up in some completely different other time.
Right. So it is kind of like, it's hard with him, and now that we inherently have him from all these different perspectives, like time perspectives, that's why I was like, thank God we're out of the future. That's one we can cross off the list, because this is going to drive me nuts. Yeah. And then
before we jump into the 90s, there's just one small thing I want to say. I was really excited to see the detail of having Wolverine have his bone claws instead of the adamantium as a, I don't know, let's see, mini sequel to his personal story about what happened at the end of season 1. So I'll be curious, like, obviously we all know the story of how he gets the adamantium skeleton, but like, is he just going to stay with the bone skeleton forever? I think probably not. So it'll be interesting to see, like, if he goes on his own journey at some point. Isn't there a Weapon X episode title at some point, I want to say? I feel like there is.
I think there is.
So if I'm going to, put a marker in the sand there, that's the episode where he's probably going to get his adamantium skeleton back, because I don't think they're just going to let him out here with bone claws for like the rest of time.
No, I did appreciate that detail as well, because at first I, again, fully rewatched the first season, but I was like, what's wrong with his claws?
No, literally me. And then I was like, girl, the skeleton was gone.
Yeah, I was like, we can't forget that. All right, let's move to the 90s. The first detail I want to point out about this was, I love, and this is why animation, like, you can just do things you cannot do the same way in live action. Changing the intro.
Yes.
Oh my God.
So hyped.
That was, okay, first off, changing it, one, to be obviously Cable's team, and so it's not the X-Men. Even, we don't even get X-Men 97 at the end. Like, I think that's genius. But the music kid in me kind of was even more excited, because there was a slight change in the music itself to indicate.
I didn't notice that.
Yes, there's a slight, I don't even know the sound, but there's a slight extra like sound in it that you could tell it just is slightly off, because it's saying like, this is not X-Men 97. So we're not giving them the full theme song. Like, there's a slightly different theme song. And I was like, this is just so ingenious. Like, changing it up, because obviously, guys, first and foremost, if you are ever skipping the theme song and like the entrance, like, what are you doing?
You're not a fan.
No, like, I literally am like shaking in my room. Like, I'm like, yeah,
I skipped it once in my rewatch because I hit the wrong button and I was so mad. I was like, no, my experience has been forever ruined.
I literally only skipped it once, or in my rewatch, because I was like, I am pressed for time. I'm so sorry, but I also came clean. I was skipping parts of the show that I was like, I mean,
that's a little bit more egregious.
So you know what? But I mean, like, truly, I do not skip it any of the times. That is one of the only show intros that's like actually longer that I will watch. Like, there are some that are just shows in general that have short ones that I'm like, yeah, I won't skip this. It's like 5 seconds, 10 seconds. But this is honest?
I skip Daredevils every single time.
Oh, I always skip. Why is it like literally 3 minutes?
No, it's so long.
It's so long.
It's also like, I watched it the first couple of episodes when season 1 came out, and I was like, wow, this is like really, like, I like it. It's like a good ambiance, really gets you in the mood. But then I was like, it's so long. Whereas like this one's also relatively long, but I'm like,
but there's more, there's visuals.
Yeah.
Well, it's the beat and there's visuals and again, like the attention to detail to sit there and switch it up to
I'm
show
also
you
just like a
what
kid
team
on a
they're
Saturday
doing.
morning. I'm like,
Yeah.
this is childhood. This is
Yeah.
peak childhood.
Well, that's what I mean. So I thought that was like icing on the cake for me going into this, that I was like, that was such a nice detail. And like, it's something that people may not have watched. Like, you inherently
Yeah.
just go to skip it. And I again, like I said, I don't ever skip the theme song, but like, I was like, that is a great detail. It had them fighting. Like, it just, everything was changed perfectly. I was
Yeah.
like, I love
I
this.
loved it.
Yeah.
I was just like, the level of joy that I got from that alone. I was like, oh, we're in for a baller episode. And it was a baller episode. It was so good.
Well, I think this was arguably, I don't want to say it was my favorite. That's a lie, because I do think the third episode was my favorite, which we'll obviously get to at the end here. But it was my second favorite. I think in order they went opposite. Like, I think it's 3, 2, 1 as far as I'm concerned. And a lot of it is because it is our present day. And again, you have to pay the most attention to it. Like, we
Right.
are at the point where it's like, what is happening here is affected in the long run by like everything else. Yes, but this is going to be where it all comes together. So
Yeah.
I think obviously that in and of itself makes it like the most important episode. But I liked Cable doing his little recruitment. I love that Jubilee, especially Jubilee, is having her moment, because I feel like she's never had one. Like, not like that.
Watching that girl in the X Factor base,
yeah.
I was like, get it, girl. Like that
Well,
what is it, the from Angry Birds? I was like,
oh, like,
yes!
get it,
Yeah.
girl. Get. Yeah.
You knew,
Honestly,
you knew.
though, even okay, I do remember them from last season, but like, they were ones I skipped because I just was like, this is not the most important part to my story right now. I need to know like the main plot. But her and Sunspot, like, I love their relationship. I love when
Yes.
she jumps off the roof and she's like, my man's got me. I'm
Yeah.
literally
Oh,
like,
100%. She's like, I'm not worried. You took my
Yeah.
parachute. Okay.
she's
My
like,
man can
you're
fly.
cute. You act like he can't fly and just come
Yeah.
get me. Like,
Yeah.
and he's not gonna let me drop. Are you kidding?
No.
Have you seen
And
this man?
I liked too, like, he has this line, and I don't know if y'all have picked up on this. I love a good romance, but he has this line when he and Cable are like arguing about what to do for Jubilee, where he's like, yeah, I know that she can absolutely handle herself, but she shouldn't have to. And I was like, heck to the yes, man, written by a woman. I was like, I love you. I love this relationship.
Yeah.
It was great. It was everything.
No, I agree. And I but again, like, I like that Jubilee had a moment.
Yes.
We have to remember, guys, if you don't, this series starts with Jubilee when she's at the mall attacked by Sentinels. Like,
Yep.
this is how the original series begins.
Yes.
And so we have watched her. She gets to go on some missions, but she's not like really an X-Man. Like, they won't really give her that title of being part of the team full time. And I enjoyed that Cable was like, you're with us. You're a part of this. And I also like that you could tell that through the things she's been through, she's like, we're not playing the way you play. Like, I was an X-Man, and I'm not going to sit here and not follow some of the things that I know Professor X has instilled in me. Like, she stops them from, or she wants to stop them from murdering, obviously. When they kept calling him Bowl Cut, and I was like, and unfortunately now that's how he's stuck in my brain. But she literally was like, we're not going to operate like that, or I'm done.
Yeah.
Like, that's not how this is going to work. And I was like, you know what? Go, girl, first off.
Yes.
But also, you're sitting here telling Cable, I appreciate that. Like, I think that's,
yeah.
You know,
Fearless.
she's grown.
She's utterly fearless in this episode.
Yes.
And I was so proud of her. And I think as much as we like harp on the Motendo episode, or like half episode from last season, which we spent like a solid 5 minutes doing last week, I do think that that's actually a turning point for her. So like, now having seen this episode, it makes me appreciate that a little bit more, because it was almost like her recognizing, like, it's not just about the good old days. Like, you got to put on your big girl pants right now, and you're 18, you're an adult, you're an X-Man now. Like, you have to step up. And she wasn't on Asteroid M. She didn't get, moved through time, but you can tell that she's not satisfied just sitting around. Like, you know, her boyfriend's out here at the arcade because he really didn't have the opportunity to really settle in as an X-Man, right? He wasn't with the team very long when they broke up. But she, to your point, had those values instilled in her by Professor X and all of the other team members who really helped raise her and bring her into adulthood. And she was ready to do what she needed to do. And Cable gave her that option, but she wasn't going to do it Cable's way. She was going to do it the right way and to her morals, and she was going to stand up for them. She wasn't just going to blindly follow. And I think, you know, if you mentioned how the series starts with Jubilee, I think if that version of Jubilee could see the one who absolutely just kicked butt and took names in this episode, she'd be so proud. Even the Motendo episode, she sees a future version of herself, absolutely a total baddie. And I think that gives her a lot of confidence to be able to say, like, I can do this. Then she gets some amazing training from Cable to be more of a hand-to-hand combat threat. The way that she was using her powers, even, I mean, she was absolutely lethal. I used to laugh at her powers. I was like, wow, the girl shoots fireworks. But now she's like actually like really, you know, the way she uses them is really cool. And I'm like, you know what? I feel like a proud big sister. I was like, wow, look at you go, girl.
I feel like I've actually watched her grow up throughout the series now. And I'm like, she's stepped into her own moment. And I'm so happy for her. But yeah, I do want to talk about some of the things we found out during our episode following the X-Force, because again, I do think what is happening in the 90s is probably the most important bit of information we're getting out of these 3 episodes. Yeah. Yes, there's important things, but in all of them, but the 90s right now is literally like how this is all going to play out. We see them pursuing some information. First off, they go after our little bowl cut guys. He's dead.
Also known as War.
Was that what his name is?
Well, he was the Horseman of War.
Oh, I thought his real name. And I was like, did they say his real name?
Well, they called him War because that was the Horseman category, I guess.
Now remind me, was he the Horseman? He was one of the 4 horsemen with Archangel?
That I don't know. I don't know.
That's going to be such an interesting part of this, because we've seen the horsemen in different capacities already. Yeah. We've seen them in the original show, and that's when Archangel was one of them. That they referenced that directly, and he even says, like, Rogue is the only reason I'm not, like, she saved me. Yeah. We can't save him, put him out of his misery. And I did like that perspective. Yeah. I also really like Warren. Like, I am a big fan of him. I always was. So I'm so glad they brought that up too, because I was like, in the back of my head, I was like, I'm fairly certain he was one at one point. Yeah. And I was like, thank you for confirming. No, I knew he was, because I remember thinking how cool he did look though when he was turned as a horseman. Like, he looked really cool. Yeah. But yeah, so like, you know, I don't. We've seen them in the OG show already, and that's still relevant, obviously, because they've made the reference. We just saw them in the future episode. We saw that version of the Horsemen, so it's like we're aware they're around, and now we have Apocalypse out here somewhere in the 90s floating around, but they're following a trail, right? And so they start with War, if you will. I guess that's what we'll call him. Not bowl cut, whatever. Fine. I mean, both I'll get over that. Yeah, whatever. I'll get over it. And they end up killing him because they can't get a lot of information. Obviously, again, he is still pretty much corrupted by Apocalypse. Like, that's just how, unfortunately, the power works. And they end up with Emma. I love Emma. I love Emma, but she stresses me out.
Yes. But I just love that, like, that girl, she knows how to work a situation to her favor, like, without fail every single time. And I just find her endlessly entertaining for that reason. Yeah.
No, I don't disagree, but she's always got the information. Oh, and she gets them in this facility. And I think we need to talk wholeheartedly about what they were doing in the facility.
Yeah, so what they find is basically like the machinations, that's not the right word, what they would use to make horsemen, essentially, what Apocalypse would use. It was empty. Yeah. Now, if Apocalypse is making horsemen and he picked up a playing card in the end of the last season, everybody say it with me. It's Gambit. And he's already a horseman. That's that's the other second piece there, is that Apocalypse was making horsemen, but he's also done. And so based on the episode titles, I know we're probably not going to get, we might not get that reveal until later on in the season. Or it could be that he's, the other thing to think about is that he's revealed as a horseman. Gambit's revealed as a horseman earlier on, and then episode 8 is when they find a way to turn him back. That's the other, potential way to read some of these episode titles. But it'll be really, really interesting. I think it's cool to see that, like, basically confirmation, if you read between the lines, that like that is the storyline they're doing. I think everybody was pretty confident in it, but you never know. They like to throw curveballs. They like to, lead us in one direction and then hard pivot the other. So
Yeah.
I'm glad that like we're pretty much confirmed now we're getting it. I know you're super excited. He's your man. So hopefully we get him sooner rather than later.
Well, and while we're on the topic of like relatively confirmed, I just have to say, and I just told T this like right before we started recording. So I was at Hot Topic yesterday because I went to the mall. And this is important, I promise. But they had X-Men 97 stuff. And I was like, well, I need to up my shirt, right? Like I have the
Naturally.
season 1 shirt. They have a season 2 shirt. So I was like, I have to get this. I actually really wanted to get a different one that was a comic cover because I had Gambit on it, but they didn't have it in a size I wanted. So wasn't going to work for me. But they had the X-Men 97 season 2 shirt. And I was like, well, of course, I'm going to get this. Well, walking out, there was a table at the front that I didn't realize, like they had a bunch of stuff, like X-Men stuff in the back of it, but you can't see it when you walk in. And at the very bottom, there's a stack of shirts. And it happens to have a tarot card on it that happens to have Horseman Gambit smack dab in the middle of it.
Shout out to Hot Topic for
I'm not
spoiling.
Sure. Yeah. Shout out to the Hot Topic in Pennsylvania, my location, because I don't think you were supposed to do that. But you know what? You did. And so, I mean, like, let's be real, guys. I said from the very beginning, I knew where this was going as soon as we saw that card get picked up, right? Like and I'm not the only one, we all did. But also just like them killing off a major X-Men character 5 episodes into them bringing the show back would have been crazy. Also, how many times have everybody else died? Like Jean's died 4 times. Like
at least.
Exactly. She literally was replaced by a clone and we still don't know when that happened. So, you know what? I think there would be crazier things than bringing him back, especially considering there's precedence of how this happens. But I do have to laugh that yesterday I kind of already got the confirmation. I did buy the shirt, in case anyone was wondering. I turned right back around and went right back to the register.
Also, shout out to you for channeling your inner Jubilee and going to the mall, because we love that.
I did go to the mall. But I thought it was really funny because I was just like, I'm not sure this was supposed to be out yet. Because I mean, the show doesn't even come out till at least tomorrow. So I was like, that's kind of crazy. But yeah, now that we kind of already got the additional confirmation, if you will, if you didn't already think, at least now it's a little bit more likely. But also there is literally merch.
Yeah.
That's out. That shows it. So I think that's kind of funny. But yeah, I think, yes, we already know he's a horseman at this point. I do think what we also have to remember is even if they wait till episode 8, we're not in the 90s for all of them.
Yeah.
So even though we are progressing the plot, towards it, and it does feel like we're going to have to still wait another, 3-4 weeks. At the end of the day, we still at least are going to have one more episode when we are in the past, because we haven't resolved that problem yet. So that being said, we still have time. I do hope they have a really cool way that they're going to reveal this, though. Like, I'm really excited.
The other thing is they're never going to bring him back as a horseman until Rogue is back in the 90s, because they're going to need that emotional moment of like her recognizing what has happened to him and what he's become. And ultimately, like,
she's the one who has to save him.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's the reason, one of the reasons obviously Warren brings that up is like, well, Rogue saved me, so clearly she's going to have to save the love of her life. I mean, she absolutely rejected Zaddy Magneto, which, like, I get it. Remy's
but was he kind of nerfed this season? Like, I don't love the beard.
The beard needs to go.
The beard's giving kind of Santa.
Yeah, I was like, I don't love the beard. I'm hoping when he gets back to the 90s, the beard goes.
I agree. I liked his season 1 look.
Yeah, season 1 look for Magneto was well done. Thank you.
Maybe they heard us and were like, we need to calm down. Some of these people.
When I was rewatching season 1, this is so embarrassing. I literally said out loud, "If villain, why hot?" And I was like, "No."
That's crazy brain rot, dude. And then you said that out loud. That's crazy.
I was like Home Alone too, and I was like, "You've reached new levels of low."
a little, but I won't judge. I get it. I mean, like, even when as soon as he shows up, I'm like, and there he is.
I know.
And I'm not even Team Magneto, but I sit there and I'm like, normally when love triangles happen, I really am passionate about one side, and I love Gambit. But I gotta say, I get it. Like, this is one of those love triangles. I just sit there and I'm like, do what you gotta do, Rogue.
Pros and cons to both, girly. And I was like,
viable options.
What? Just like explore before you make a decision. Like, I got it.
Yeah.
I believe in Rogue's rights and her wrongs.
I do as well. And therefore, you know what, girl? And I think there's always that little bit in my mind that I'm like, she marries Gambit. It's fine. It's like,
they do get there. They have some bumps in the road, but they get there.
They get there.
But I think the other big plot, obviously, from episode 2 is X-Force versus X-Factor, which is
this. Guys, I'm going to preface this by saying this is going to be my Spider-Man, Homecoming, No Way Home, Far From Home, because
yeah. No, trust me. When they were like saying it in the show, I'm like,
who are we talking about?
Yeah. And like, I had done the research going in about like what each team was and like who they were and all these things.
They also are pretty clear about it in the show. I will say, they're very much like, here's X-Force. And that's why I think they partially do the beginning too, because they're like, X-Force is Cable. And then like X-Factor's is government's version of X-Men and like whatever.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, but it's just, I'm going to say it wrong. I can feel it.
Yeah. Well, the whole time I just kept going, this is Civil War.
Correct. I mean, and I'm glad you said that because I felt the same way.
But it also like helped me, and I don't mean that derogatorily. It actually helped me like understand and like give a frame of reference, because I mean, I've probably seen Civil War at least 20 times in my life. So like that movie I understand on a cellular level. Like when I die, that's the last thing that I'll see in front of my eyeballs. And so like for me, I was like, okay, X Factor is Tony, so inherently they're wrong. And then X-Force is Team Cap, so inherently they're right. And we're good. And then, you go to I guess their floating base, and you're like, oh no, X-Factor really is just the trash that Team Iron Man is in Civil War. So, the analogy holds.
Team Iron Man is catching strays always on this podcast. Sorry.
We have been very clear from the beginning. Very clear. Listen to that replay episode. There's a lot of passion.
Yes, there is.
So, but that was also like crazy to see, because Alex Summers, Scott's brother, is like leading X Factor, and you're like, okay. And you have Polaris, who's the daughter of Magneto, is on there, and you're like, and she does have a change of heart, obviously, throughout the episode. But you're like, I guess I was struggling to empathize with them, because I was like, I understand wanting to find the government validation, because the X-Men had that in some capacity,
Yeah.
And also, if you're able to work with the government in a friendly manner, then, that gives you legitimacy, that gives you, maybe some respect, and you can kind of work towards essentially what they call Professor X's goal, which is like coexistence. I understand that argument. I think that makes a lot of sense logically. I mean, the X-Men were trying to do that for years. What I cannot get over is the justification of jailing their own people. Like where do you? And a lot of them were kids, and it's like, I don't understand how you in any way can justify that. I'm not even sorry. It's just like point blank, that's the end of the sentence.
I think, unfortunately, what becomes of X Factor, because we've seen them before, obviously, this isn't their first appearance, is just that it becomes about following orders, unfortunately. And there is almost this perspective that I think comes from them eventually, and you can kind of see it in this episode, where it's like, yes, we're mutants, but we're not those mutants. Because they got in with the crowd, right? Like they got in with the government. They're considered cool. They're the government sanctioned like group. And so they're in a different perspective, but it's like always that it always comes down to, yeah, you can like dress up as them and parade as them, but at the end of the day, you're never them. And if it comes to that moment, they will turn on you. And that's going to be what happens. And so it is interesting because, to your point, especially some of the characters that play a role on the X Factor team, you just sit there and you're like,
Yeah.
how'd you fall so far almost, considering the ties you have to people on the X-Men or Magneto? But like, regardless, I mean, think about how strongly he feels.
Yeah.
Like he is so far in a different direction. He feels that, I mean, and obviously he's having his moment, but he's like, mutants are the next step of evolution. Be gone. Like,
Yeah,
humans do
literally.
need to be done. Like, whatever. So it is kind of, and I'm not inherently saying he's right either, but I am just saying, like, think about how those connections, those relationships that are instilled in you, and that yet you've still pretty much signed it quite literally is civil war, but you're signing away who you are in your life to be told what to do, to dress up, and yet you're, at the end of the day, when push comes to shove, you won't be one of them. You're not a human.
Well, right. It's like, and I think so much what is so good about the show, and I don't want to beat around the bush. We've never have on the political.
I mean, they don't. Let's be
No, but
real.
even like, in our analysis, like, we could leave it there and be like, how do you do that? But let's be honest, y'all. What is this representing? This is representing people who are in the X Factor, represents people who are in marginalized groups who help oppress people like them in order to have a slightly less oppressed way of life.
Yeah.
Right. And it's the idea that, because they are working with their oppressors, that they're going to be safe from, dealing with the same fate, even though they're, from potentially the same community or another oppressed community, whatever. And like, this show does such a beautiful job of showing, and you said it so beautifully too, like, what is going to stop them from eventually turning on the X Factor, right? Like, they're housing these kids right now because they're problematic. Okay, well, then who's the next set of problematic mutants that they're going to have to go after? What happens when they're the problematic mutants that, they're going to go after? And oh my gosh, look, now there's Sentinels coming after them again. Like, it's all so cyclical. And I think that this show, I mean, the X-Men in general have always been an extremely political franchise, whether you're looking at the comics or whether you're looking at the animated show, there we go, or anything that they've done. They've always been very, very much trying to speak for oppressed groups and marginalized groups. And so I think, the fact that they're continuing to do that, and this episode is so focused on that, is so interesting. I'm going to be really curious to see how the X Factor situation continues to evolve, and what other kind of metaphors are going to make, and what other stories are going to tell with them in the rest of the season, because they're a particularly interesting group. I think Polaris is a particularly interesting character within that group, because you can see her morality fighting and her sense of justice fighting what she's doing. And so it'll be cool to follow her, because I think we'll be able to do that a little bit this season, and I'm excited to see how that shakes out.
Yeah, no, I am too. I think it'll be a very interesting perspective, especially when the X-Men are fully back and kind of, I don't want to say taking their rightful place back, of just like being that protector team overall, because I think, as we see, there's room for a lot of different teams, and there is, especially in the X-Men universe. I mean, we do have the Avengers out there. We know that. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, Morph turned into Thor and threw me off.
Yeah, I was like, when did Mr. Odinson get here?
I literally was like, now where? Like,
Yeah.
I was like, so, because I forget that they do that. But regardless, I mean, we have a lot of heroes out there. That's the point. And again, things you can't inherently do all the time in live action. So it is cool to be able to see it and see how these relationships are maneuvered through the different political climates of the mutant storyline in, just the X-Men story overall.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Ready to move on to episode 3?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
She was a meaty one also.
She was. And it was my favorite episode. I think I knew this one was going to be because, well, again, we're in the past. And I think we know that there's the ripple effect of things you change in the past are going to affect the future. I also think it's interesting because maybe we're throwing rules out the table, not or out the window, not according to Professor X, but according to Rachel Summers, because she was like, I sent them back there to try and stop Apocalypse from even starting. So it was like, oh, cool. But then it's like, well, then you put Professor X there, who's like inherently the world's largest rule follower, who's like, we must allow him to do everything that's going to happen. But then you also put Magneto, who's like, I can be a voice of reason and I can tell him that he has a destiny that's bigger than this. And I'm like, yes, but I'm not sure we should be telling him that.
Which is like, it's also like wild to me on so many levels. First of all, we had an entire debate in our predictions episode where we were like, Magneto's going to want to kill this guy. Like, he's immediately going to be like, death. That was not the route Magneto took. He was like, let's reform him and make him the bringer of your dream, Charles. And I was like, who hit Magneto on the head? Who is like, this man?
I'm such a changed individual. I'm doing your work.
I know.
For you.
and Charles is out here like, no. we
must follow how the time goes.
We must all suffer at the hands of Apocalypse. Yeah. It is how it goes. And I'm like, what is happening?
The thing is we have literally done such aggressive deep dives into their relationship. But the thing about the two of them is they are the definition of like, at least, okay, I'm going to reference something in the US. Like sometimes like on a political spectrum, we'll say, people have gone so right they end up left, or vice versa, where like your ideology almost gets so,
it's like circular,
that you like just get so aggressive a certain way that you kind of just end up switching, because it's like, no, but like you do actually agree with this person who you swear you wouldn't, right?
Yeah
That's them to a T. Like their ideologies don't make sense at all if you think about the fact that they like agree but don't agree on anything.
Even when Magneto is like, Charles, you've evangelized me, I will die for your cause, and Charles is like, I don't care about the cause anymore. And it's like, you literally have him on your side.
But he's like, but this is not how.
It's not my exact set of circumstances.
Yeah, he's
like, Charles, you've been fighting.
We must follow all the rules. Like,
you've been fighting for years to have this man on your side, and you finally have him. And because it's not the exact way you wanted it, you're like, pass.
No, literally. He's like, no, actually, I don't think we will do that. I'm like, what are we doing?
Yeah, sometimes Charles really just drives me a little nuts. Well, it's actually like one of those things where it's like you get a little annoyed at Scott, and then you look at the man who raised him, and you're like, no, I see it.
Yeah.
It's like, you know what? Apple doesn't fall far from the tree.
Yeah. It's like, I do get it. I do get it.
I love Charles, but sometimes I'm like, man, can you just take a win where you get one? Like,
well, and I'm like,
this is a win.
I think it was almost made worse as a viewer, because we were explicitly told in a different episode they were sent back to take care of Apocalypse.
Yeah.
However, they don't know that, right? Like, they don't know why they were sent back there. They've clearly been living there a while. Like, they've established themselves in that time at this point. So it's interesting to me, because I think that's where my annoyance also fosters so aggressively, because I was like, oh my God, this is literally why you're here, and you're not gonna do it.
Right. Well, in their defense, like, it's not like they were sent with instructions. Like,
no, and that's my
future
point.
Team had the benefit of being with Mother Ascani, who was like, actually, this was my grand design. It's like, okay, well, thanks for sharing. Like, you waited months to share that info, so wonderful. But like, the team in the past doesn't have Mother Ascani to be like, this was my grand design. So like, they don't really know that. I do think too, like, if you think about why Magneto might empathize with Ensaba Noor, you like understand, right? I mean, 100%. Obviously Magneto was a victim of the Holocaust, and then Ensaba Noor was a slave. So you are dealing with two people who, you know, were treated as less than human, you know, and it's easy to understand why Magneto might look at him and say, actually, I think that he is worth redeeming. And in some ways, it's almost like you can say that Magneto's thinking, well, I was redeemed. Like, I'm now on your path. Why can't he then also come on our path now? Because, you know, though they're different set of circumstances, you know, there is some similarity there. And there's some,
True.
you know, parallels. So, and the fact that he also, you know, Charles is always the one who's like in everybody's ear and like teaching people and like sharing his thoughts. And I think that's part of the reason that Sabanor and gravitated toward Magneto, because I think they see kindred spirits in one another. And in some ways, like the idea, and this is not having to do with their background, but having to do with like their future ideology. Apocalypse is all about the idea of like survival of the fittest. Like, how many times does he say that in this episode? And then you look at Magneto's ideology of like, well, mutants are the future of evolution. So like there is, and I mean, Apocalypse takes that to the extreme.
He takes it like 4 more steps.
Yes, but the basis there is a similar ideology. So from their past to then where their ideologies are foundationally from, you can see why they might align and why he might not be as close to Charles. And then, you know, I don't know what, the one thing I will say is like, the whole time I was watching episode 3, I just kept thinking to myself, why would you manipulate this guy? Like, why would you lie to him? And I literally was just going, we're watching the beginning of Apocalypse. And you did that. And I was like, dude, maybe lying isn't the choice every time. Like, let's be honest.
I will say, though, when it comes down, push comes to shove, and this was actually the exact same thing, the conclusion we came to at the end of season 1, Magneto is always right.
I mean, the only, like, no.
I'm not saying about the lying. That was kind of my response to the first part of what you were saying. But, like, at the end of the day, he does become, like, every time Magneto says something, he ends up being correct. And so I think to everything you said, yes, from a foundational level, he does relate a lot more. And I think that allows him to kind of become that other advisor to Sabanor. But then, like, on the lying front, you know, if there's one thing about Magneto, he's kind of also like, I can have my cake and eat it too at all times.
Yeah.
And so I think he really thought he could be in his ear and had established enough of a relationship that while his team is doing what they need to do to try and get back to their time, he's like, but I'm going to play over here. Like, I'm not super helpful over here other than the fact that I can get him to go into battle and I can get, you know, whatever, and like see if I can change the outcome to all this stuff. Versus his team's like, we're really trying to get home.
I would like mess with this time period.
I want to go back to where there's like working toilets and just where I'm comfortable. And so I think that he is kind of like, oh, we can do both. I do want to talk about the robots, the technology,
and the Pharaoh.
Yes. And also when Professor X was in that guy's head whose name is just escaping me.
Oh, yes, the general.
Yes.
Yeah,
it's
I
like
cannot remember his name.
Logo, I think.
Sure.
I think.
Names are hard.
Names are hard when there's like a lot of them. And
yeah,
I mean,
and it's
dead,
a new season. There's a lot of new characters.
But he's also dead already. Like,
so
it's okay. Because am I stupid to be like, that's Kang?
No, it is.
Okay. Like, I was like, am I
100%
dumb?
is. It 100% is. So if a little bit of background here. So if you didn't catch this, you can catch up. Ramatut, which is the pharaoh that Sabanor is fighting. Well, he doesn't really actually go head to head, but like his reign is what Sabanor is trying to resist, is a variant of Kang.
Yeah.
So we are looking at Kang the Conqueror. Well, not Kang the Conqueror, but
I was
a
saying
version of
yeah.
I didn't want to. I was like, that can't coming out. That was wrong.
We actually do see him at the end of one of the movies before they like get rid of the Kang storyline. It is actually
Quantumania when you see the Council of Kangs and you see that end credit scene, and there's thousands of Kangs, and there's the Council, and you have Scarlet Centurion, and you have I was just reading an article about this today. It's the only reason I have these names.
I was gonna say,
up
how'd
here.
you pull that out already, dude? I
No,
don't remember
no,
that.
I was reading an article when I was like, Ramatut, that is definitely Kang, and I was like double checking myself.
Honestly, the name solidified it, but when they were first doing, because like they didn't say him for a little bit, and obviously they were waiting to like show him, and they were doing the whole robot thing, and they kept saying like, oh, this technology is far too advanced. Now I remember when we did an entire episode post season 1 about En Sabanur, and we went into the lore about him and how Kang is the emperor that exists during his time.
Ramatut, not En
sorry.
Sabanur. I was like, I don't think we did an episode on En Sabanur.
No. We did. We did a whole episode about the Apocalypse. That's how I know all this.
Okay, well, maybe we did an episode that I mentally checked out for.
But that's why I know all this lore, because I remember doing the research for it. We did an entire thing. Or you know what? Maybe this was back when we had a blog, and maybe I did that. But either way, I did a lot of research for it.
We did not do
Whatever. Guys, I'm really an expert at this. So just don't listen to her either way. It's fine. The information is in my brain. But just ignore her and let me keep talking. So I was like, I know that this is like how this overlaps, and this is this storyline. So that's why I was like, wait. And then they said his name, and I was like, ah. But then Professor X is in Logos's mind, and I'm like, now hold on, I'm getting like flashbacks. Like I'm getting a little like, because to me, then I was like, now hold on, now we're talking to me, to an entity at the end of time and all of that. Yep. And I'm thinking Loki season 1.
Oh yeah, I got major He Who Remains vibes.
Yes.
My other thing though is this could be the moment they fully wrap it into how it relates to the MCU and 616. Well, it's obviously part of the MCU, but like how it relates to 616 and everything like that. Like that could be the moment they do that. Or this could be the moment they do that. And I kind of hope they do. And the way too that like Charles was saying, he was like describing him, and he described him with a certain phrase that was almost like he was trying to say He Who Remains, but like couldn't quite get the vernacular because he didn't know the exact vocabulary. I was like, ooh. The other thing is like, I do wonder if it is a Mortis, because isn't that like the most evolved version of Kang?
Yes.
If they're not going to tie it into He Who Remains, I could see it being a Mortis, because he's technically like the highest one up there.
From a high level, let's take that like scoop back, right? Like we're now all the way over here. I am kind of intrigued because season 2 happened very quickly after season 1. Like they pretty much were written and done in tandem, which is why it was annoying that we waited 2 years for it, because it was like, why? Yeah. But that being said, let's remember that season 1 was being done created in 2022, 2023, when we had the intention still of going the Kang route. We hadn't yet had to alter. So there's the part of me that's like, is this partially just kind of leftover residual like Kang related information? Or was this always the route this was planning to go with Kang in general, and we just happened to unfortunately not align anymore in the MCU live action part? And that's just kind of like whatever. But they always wanted to go Kang and it wasn't going to relate to anything to begin with. But yeah, I think you can kind of look at it from 2 different perspectives right now, right? Because it's kind of like, was this created to kind of have that moment where we align and we kind of have a stake put in the sand where this relates to actual, MCU live action properties? Or is it just kind of like, no, we were already going to tell the story of Apocalypse. This is how we were already going to do it. That's just, and we're staying in our bubble.
Well, because I lost my train of thought. I'm not going to lie.
Well, I guess this is nothing.
I was going to say, even with that's a good point. Thinking about like when this was created and what was going on at the time, or what hadn't happened yet at the time. I will say though, I think the way that they they didn't even rework season 2 of Loki, because he was still in it, but it was the Victor Timely piece. But the way that they ended up writing season 2 of Loki, so that Loki is now the equivalent of He Who Remains in a sort of way, and in the way that he's acting as the god of stories and Yggdrasil and all the good stuff, is it kind of doesn't matter now that they're not moving forward with Kang, because it could be that like, and think about it too, like this is the 90s, so theoretically He Who Remains, though we don't know when Loki takes place, He Who Remains would still be in power, like that might not have affected anything. Or yeah, I
But
mean
they're
that's
not.
one
They're
way to
also
look at
not
it.
in the 90s. Well, like the show itself is,
Oh,
but right
that's
now,
true. They're in like way back, like BC time. That's true. That is true as well. The other thing I was going to say was when you see at the very end of the episode, when he shoots at their lair, those moving circular pieces are very reminiscent of his time thing that he has in Quantumania. So I was like,
yeah,
oh, visually we're starting to align here as well. I'll be curious, like if we get like the Fantastic Four at any point in this series as
yes,
well.
because
Like,
they
we've
play a part of that.
well, yeah, and we saw small cameos of them in season 1, but I wonder if they'll have a moment kind of like Cap did in season 1 with Rogue, where like you get almost like a 5-minute series with him, you know, collaborating with an X-Man. Just again to your point, because the Fantastic Four play a part in some of this story. So
Yeah,
definitely interesting. I was when the end of the episode hit, I was like, of course, this is where you stopped. Like you stopped
I know.
at a cliffhanger.
I was like,
I was
God
so
dang
mad.
it. Yeah,
Yeah,
no, I agree.
it'll
But
be interesting.
yeah, it makes me ready for next week.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I definitely we're back. We're so back. I am enjoying the heck out of this and I can't wait. This is going to be a really fun summer.
Yeah, I agree.
All right. I'm good in terms of episodes 1 through 3. You're nodding, so I feel
Yep.
like that's a signal. This has been our reactions to episode 1 through 3 of season 2 of X-Men 97. That is such a mouthful, but make sure that you're following on your podcast platform of choice as we react to the remainder of the season and all the good Marvel things coming up. You can check out our website and our Buy Me a Coffee as well, both of which are linked in the show notes below.
You guys can also give us a follow on all of our socials, which are linked in the show notes down below. And join us next week as we are tackling episode 4 of X-Men 97 season 2. Yes, a mouthful. I, however, will not be here next week. We will.
Oh, that's right.
Yes, I knew Taylor forgot. But
I
we
did.
will, in my place, have Davis, of course, come on and cover for me. I'm very sad because I was like, of course, this is the show that I'm missing an episode of, but I will be at the beach. So I'm not going to complain too much. I'm going to be
sad.
having a great time. I won't lie to you all. But yes, join us next week, or join Taylor and Davis next week as they take on episode 4. And as always, Marvel just blew your mind. So let's talk about it.